Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Honest Careers. Today, I'm joined by Nathan Hirsch, who is the founder of Outsource School, among some really other cool accomplishments that he's had through his career. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you doing, man?
Anthony, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Alrighty, so the first question that I always like to start off with is, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Nathan Hirsch?
Yeah, so I'm a 10-year entrepreneur that can work from anywhere. I love to travel. I love trying food. I'm a big health junkie, both in terms of eating and working out. And right now I live in Orlando, Florida, although I'm in the process of buying a second house in Colorado. And I love dogs. I was never allowed to have dogs growing up, so now I have two.
Okay, and so the next question I'm going to ask is, so what do you do right now? If you could just sum it up in a couple words, what is it that you're currently working on?
Yeah, so at the end of last year, I sold my last company, FreeUp. It was acquired, and we spent the first part of this year figuring out what we want to do next. Do we want to go into real estate? Do we want to invest in companies? Do we want to start another company from scratch? And we came up with this idea of Outsource School with the goal of really four things: helping entrepreneurs learn how to hire A-plus virtual assistants, not only how to hire them, but how to hire them quickly. Then also, entrepreneurs need to use standard operating procedures. So we want to create a library of standard operating procedures that entrepreneurs can go to, while also giving them a tool, simply SOP, to build their own. Plus, to prevent turnover and issues, we have community, we have support, we have trainings on how to do that as well. So I'm right now working on Outsource School, which is the goal is to educate entrepreneurs on how to grow businesses with virtual assistants.
Gotcha. So there's a lot to unpack there, and we're going to take it kind of step by step from the beginning. Now, obviously, you're a pretty young guy at this point. You've sold a company. You're building and working on building your second company. Now, obviously, that just didn't happen overnight. So can you tell us a little bit about what was your background and how did you make it to this point?
Yeah, so I've never had a real job outside of some internships in college. I mean, going into college, my parents were teachers. They always told me that I was going to go to college, get a real job, work for 30 years, retire, and that was going to be my life. And they made me get these summer internships where I was working 30, 40 hours a week. I worked at a Aaron's Corporation, which is like a rent-a-center, worked at Firestone, and I really just learned a lot about what I didn't want to do. And by the time I got to college, I kind of looked at college as a ticking clock where I had 4 years to start my own business, or I was going to go into the real world and never look back. And so I started hustling, buying and selling people's textbooks, eventually got a cease and desist letter, if you can imagine that, from my college, which actually ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I was scared I would get kicked out of school. So I pivoted and I started selling products on Amazon, of trial and error, until I came across baby products. And when I started having success selling baby products on Amazon, if you can imagine me as a 20-year-old single college guy with more hair, just selling millions of dollars of baby products out of my college dorm room, I had to start hiring people. And I really struggled to hire college kids. I tried hiring adults that were older than me. And it wasn't until a buddy of mine told me about virtual assistants that I was able to actually scale and grow that business. And then I decided to build my own marketplace called FreeUp to compete with the Upworks and Fivers of the world, because I didn't really enjoy using them, a platform that pre-vets VAs and freelancers before matching them up. And we launched that with a $5,000 investment and really organically scaled that to a $12 million revenue stream last year. And we were acquired, and that kind of takes me to Outsource School.
Crazy stuff. So I want to just backpedal for a second there. When you were at college, where did you go? What were you studying? Because it sounds like when you were there, you were really focused on trying to make some cash on the side, really focusing on the side hustles.
So I went to Quinnipiac University in Connecticut. I'm from Massachusetts originally, and I went in undeclared in business. And it's funny, my first week of college, freshman year, all the professors, they went on stage, or the dean of each department, and the finance person said why you should take finance, and the economics person said why you should major in economics, and the entrepreneurship professor went on stage, and she just says, if you ever want life and money freedom, the only way to accomplish it is to become an entrepreneur. And then she just walked off stage. That was her entire speech. And that just like blew my mind right there. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. So I actually majored in entrepreneurship as I was growing a business at the same time, kind of learning and applying what I was learning.
Interesting. So you told the story about getting the cease and desist order. Obviously FreeUp was the thing that really took off. Did you have any other scenarios along the way, just like where things just didn't go right? You kind of learned and had some mistakes along the way.
Yeah, I mean, my story sounds really good when I'm like, hey, I went from here to here to here to here, and it was all up. But obviously, that's not the case. I mean, there was a time. I mean, first of all, to get to baby products, I spent a good year failing to sell everything else, from computers to video games to sporting equipment, outdoor supply. Like, for whatever reason, I couldn't get anything to sell besides baby products. And even when I got the baby product business going, I made one of the worst mistakes. I hired a manager of the day, and I spent 6 months teaching him how to do all aspects of my business, to the point where I was sleeping better at night. I was less stressed. My business was on autopilot. And I did the same thing with my suppliers. I had all these different suppliers, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to focus on the best one. So I had one supplier, I had one manager, and I go on a vacation, my first vacation in over a year. And on the first day of my vacation, I get 3 phone calls. The first from the manager of the day telling me that he was quitting on me. The second from my supplier telling me that they were dropping me. And then just to top it off, my accountant calls me and said, someone filed a fake tax return in your name. Your identity's been stolen. And they stole like $40,000 government under my name. And I was going to have to deal with that mess when I got home. So I went from this like unbelievable high to this 21-year-old crushing it to let's start everything all over again. And it was a complete mess, but I learned a very valuable lesson about diversification that I still hold true to this day.
Gotcha. So you're running an Amazon business, and then all of a sudden you have just a total nightmare situation come through, and you don't stop at that point. You say, okay, let me keep on going. It sounds like a lot of the reason that FreeUp was created was really kind of out of a self-need, which for the people who've been watching this channel and seen some of the recent episodes, I think that's kind of a consistent theme, right? A lot of these products, there's something that you want, you go out to the market, you're looking on something like Fiverr, on Upwork, on Online Jobs PH, and it's just not really, really going the distance there. Nate, for the benefit of the audience, can you just take a minute and explain what's the whole premise behind outsourced labor? Because not everyone here might be super familiar. They might have read the 4-Hour Workweek and heard about what a VA is, but can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I like to break down hiring to 3 different levels. You've got the followers, you got the doers, and you got the experts. And as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to hire all 3 levels. You need the followers to run the day-to-day operations or the systems in your business that you know how to do. You need the doers for the specialists like graphic designers, writers, video editors. And then you need the experts to come in, because you can't just spend 6 months learning every single part of business. At some point, you have to hire someone that already knows how to do it. But the thing is, if you're going to hire people, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn a lot along the way. And it's a lot cheaper to make mistakes with the followers than it is to with the experts and the doers. So I always recommend that people start with the followers. Start with finding someone. I like to hire from the Philippines, $5 to $10 an hour, to follow your systems, your processes, how you do things. And that's going to allow you to get your time back. That's what outsourcing is all about. If you get 5 hours back in a week that you don't have to answer customer service emails, that's 5 hours a week. You can talk to clients. You can come up with a marketing strategy. You can focus on sales and expansion. So what I like to teach people to do is to start small and focus on getting hours of your week back. And that's really what the whole outsourcing concept comes about. And there's just so many benefits to it. You don't have to hire people in your town. You get access to people all over the world. You get access to all different pricing from all over the world with different skill sets. You don't have to hire people full-time. You can start off part-time, which I've done myself on 3 different businesses, hiring for 5 hours a week and then building people up from there. So it just makes it very flexible. It makes your business remote, and it really creates a fun way to scale and grow your business very lean.
I got it. So you're pretty much saying this is a pretty low risk way. You don't have to take on these full-time employees, and you can actually start seeing some benefits right away, because even if you're only able to, at the start, free up, 3, 4, 5 hours of time in a week, that's still 5 hours extra in a week that you have, and you can always go and build from there. Now, the next question that I want to ask might be a little bit of a sensitive topic, but I think you handle it well in the way that you teach, and you just said right there, $5 to $10 an hour. Now, I know when a lot of people hear about outsourcing, they're like, oh, here's these evil capitalists. They're going over to a 3rd world country and they're taking advantage of people. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because, I've hired people from the Philippines. You've hired people from all over the world, and FreeUp, I know, sets up that marketplace. But can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So first of all, everything that I teach can be applied to hiring in the U.S. or non-U.S. Like that's more of a personal preference than anything else. Now you have to remember the minimum wage in the Philippines is $12 a day, not $12 an hour, $12 a day. Not to mention crazy traffic. A lot of them have large families that they have to leave to go to work every day. So you're actually providing them a great opportunity to earn more from their home to keep them around their family than they would otherwise get. And that doesn't mean that you have to pay them $5 an hour. I mean, I had some VAs at FreeUp before we sold it that were making over $20 an hour. When we sold FreeUp, we took $500,000 from the sale and gave it to our internal team in the Philippines and made sure their bonus and their raise programs and their jobs were secure. So you don't have to treat people poorly, and I don't believe in treating people poorly, but you have to understand that there is just a cost of living difference for living in those countries. So whether you want to pay the market rate, which in the Philippines is $5 to $10 an hour for a VA, or you want to pay them more, or you want to hire in the US, the same principles apply. I don't really control the market, the world market in all different countries are always changing. And even outside of price, I mean, there's so many other reasons to hire from the Philippines, from their ability to work hard, speak English at a high level, work US hours, stuff like that. And one other point, and I'll let you kind of jump in here because I'm sure you have the similar thoughts. I can't tell you how many clients that I've had, even with FreeUp and even Outsource School, who they just couldn't hire full-time employees. Like that just wasn't an option year one. No matter what I did, no matter what I taught them, they were not hiring US full-time employees, but they started off with virtual assistants and they were able to grow their business. And then they were able to hire US employees and they kept their virtual assistants. And now they have a hybrid. So at the end of things, they actually created jobs. And I can't remember one person that I've taught who learned our material at Outsource School and then said, oh, I'm going to fire all my US staff and replace them with $5 an hour people in the Philippines. That's usually not how it works.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think sometimes people think, that the whole goal is just to completely outsource labor from the US. And the reality is when you're starting a business, and anyone who's started a business knows this, when you're starting out, especially when the cash flow isn't high, you're just doing whatever you can to succeed. And I'm personally of the opinion that if you're going to go and hire some outsourced talent and that allows you to take your business to the next level, all businesses, you hear about Amazon starting in the garage and they're just kind of working on the floor, folding boxes and, fulfilling orders. You have to start somewhere. And now obviously Amazon has the capital to hire, I don't even know how many employees now, probably like almost half of, just an insane amount of employees. And so if you don't make it through that initial survival stage, then it doesn't really matter. And you're not really providing benefit to anyone. That's just my personal thought. I want to dive into a little bit about FreeUp, and then we're going to kind of transition the interview. But earlier you said $12 million in revenue for FreeUp. Now, obviously, that didn't happen overnight either. What were some of the challenges leading up to getting to that point? And then I want to talk a little bit about the acquisition. Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, it's funny because in the Amazon business, we learned how to hire really well. We spent 4 or 5 years making every hiring mistake that you could imagine. We came up with a good hiring process. So when we started FreeUp, we hit the ground running. We hired A players. The same people we hired in week 1 were with us in year 4 when we sold it. They're still with FreeUp now. But we had no idea how to market because Amazon did all the marketing for us. And we even got in before Amazon PPC campaign. So we just paid Amazon the 15% and they got us all the customers. So when we started FreeUp, we hired good people, but we didn't know how to market. So we used virtual assistants to try every single marketing strategy that we could find, whether it was backlinks, getting on podcasts, doing webinars, working with influencers, partnerships. And over time, we just did trial and error again until we figured out how to grow this business organically. And I mean, we launched FreeUp with a minimum viable product, a really crummy software that did very little, that clients could see their freelancers in their account, and that was pretty much it. Everything else, the billing, the affiliate program, like all that was manual. And we listened to feedback and we heard what freelancers and what clients liked, and we continued to adjust and add on. And as we made more money, we invested into the software. And it's funny, even now with Outsource School, we never really mastered paid ads with FreeUp. It's kind of just a weird business model, not impossible, but hard to do paid ads. And I'm sure the new owners will do a good job, much better job than we did. But with Outsource School, we know how to hire. We have an organic marketing blueprint that we not only use, but we teach to our members. But now we have to learn the paid ad side. So you're always kind of adding on that new skill. Was there any specific thing about the acquisition that you wanted me to touch on?
I guess for someone, let's say someone's working on building a business and, their business is growing. I guess my question, Nathan, would be, what were some of the decisions, right? You have this business that's making $12 million a year in revenue. Why not just keep the business? What made you want to sell FreeUp? It seemed like it was doing super well.
Yeah, and we didn't go into 2019 saying like, oh, we need to sell this thing by the end of the year or anything like that. I mean, one of our clients reached out to us, the Hoth. They'd been a client of FreeUp for a year. They said, hey, we love FreeUp. We want to get into the VA freelancer space. We don't want to build it from scratch. Would you guys be interested in being acquired? And they ended up making us an offer that we felt like was more than fair, if not aggressive. And I mean, on the flip side, like I said, we never mastered paid ads. We almost felt like we had maybe not pushed it to the limit, but maybe we were approaching it. And in order to get from the same things that you do from 0 to 5 doesn't get you from 5 to 10, doesn't get you from 10 to 25. So things were going to have to change. There were going to have to be some drastic changes in the systems, which comes with risk. Not that we couldn't figure it out, but we still haven't grown a business past 12 million. So there was going to be a learning curve there with a lot of people depending on us to nail learning curve on the first try. And so with that offer in hand, it became, okay, let's do due diligence on them, make sure we're not selling to someone who's going to drive into the ground or hurt our relationships or hurt the freelancers or the clients. And they checked out. They're awesome. I have a great relationship with them today. We got to visit their office and all that. And then it became, how do we make it a win for everyone? And that's what I mentioned. We took a portion of the sale and gave it to our internal team and made sure no one was going to get screwed over there. And once we kind of laid everything out and we'd done the due diligence and we saw that it was a win-win for everyone, it's tough to turn down a win for everyone. So definitely a tough decision, but I think we made the right one at the end of the day.
Awesome. So now I want to transition from FreeUp into Outsource School. And before we jump in, I just want to say that I think there's opportunities, a lot of opportunities here, not just on, I think, who Outsource School might be intended for is, people who are business owners that they want to get better at some of these skill sets, but also just on the ability to provide these services. I think probably one of the first ways I made money remote was actually my previous business partner had taught me how to hire employees, how to go and scout, probably a lot of the things that are taught in Outsource School. And I remember I was getting paid $200 to $400 per employee that I was able to successfully hire, just kind of headhunting for these virtual assistants. And back then there wasn't something like Outsource School to learn. I was only lucky enough to learn it from someone else. So can you kind of walk us through a little bit? And the other thing I'll say as well, and this is, I'm not being paid to say this, I've actually purchased Outsource School. I've gone through the podcast outreach formula, which has been super helpful for getting speaking engagements for my current job that I'm working in, but then also diving into the content. Like, it's really, really good content, and people really hadn't, this doesn't, at least I don't really know of where this information has existed previously. Can you tell us a little bit about what the whole idea and the concept behind Outsource School is?
Yeah, I mean, listen, hiring isn't rocket science, right? Like, I don't have an MBA. You don't have to be the smartest person in the world. You kind of have 3 options. Like, you can quit, which a lot of entrepreneurs do because they get frustrated. They make bad hires. You can do what we did for 4 to 5 years and do trial and error and try to come up with your own hiring process. And there's going to be some wasted time and money there. Or I always wish that there was a simple approach where someone could just give me their system or systems and I could just plug them into my business. And I also could have a community and support to tell me when I'm doing something great or doing something dumb, or if I come across an issue and help me fix it. So that's really what Outsource School is all about. We're going to give you our exact hiring process so that you can hire A players in every business you start going forward. We're also going to teach you how to do it quickly so you don't have to do 4 rounds of interviews for every single person to make sure that you get an A player. We're going to give you all of our SOPs, standard operating procedures around operations and marketing, stuff like how to have VAs run your inbox, how to have VAs do lead gen or get you on podcasts. And we're building up this library, plus a tool to create your own SOPs. And we want to help and support you because we've seen every single VA issue out there. We know how to fix them. We know how to create great teams. So we've created a community of hundreds of entrepreneurs. We do live coaching calls in our group. We're there to support you if you need us to review your job postings, your SOPs, whatever you need. So that's really what Outsource School is all about. To enroll, it's $997 a year, and we're there to just continue adding value. And our goal is that you get a huge ROI on your investment.
Gotcha. And just from my perspective, and I'm sure people watching this who have tried to hire VAs in the past, I've definitely been there at all 3 stages. I've definitely come to the point of quitting and saying, I've tried to hire VAs and it didn't work. once I got a little bit better, than trying to experiment with that trial and error, and just having some way you can actually learn some of the best practices and avoid some really, really key mistakes, I think is pretty big. What would you say though, in terms of who's this ideal for? Is it for employers? Is it for employees? Is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, I mean, it's for clients, it's for employers. I mean, with that said, we have a lot of employers or clients that give our stuff to their teams, whether they're giving it to their US staff or their project managers or their VAs, team leaders, whatever it is. Or if you take stuff like our podcast outreach formula, you can actually just give it to your VA and they'll help get you on podcasts. So it really is designed for the clients, although it can be used the other way. And I would say most of our members have either never hired a VA before or have really struggled to hire VAs in the past, or maybe they've had some good hires, but they really just got lucky. They didn't really have any system or process behind that. And I say that, but we do have some people who own tons of businesses who have over 100 virtual assistants that just love our standard operating procedures. And there's also people that are more on the earlier side as well. But yeah, it's more designed for clients.
And can you walk a little bit through, because it's not just about one singular thing. You have a bunch of different playbooks. Can you talk about the breadth of information that's included? Because like $997, for me as a business owner, it's like $1,000. That seems pretty worth it. But it's not just like, tell us a little bit about the content of the course, because I think that's something that people are concerned about. I don't want to just spend $1,000 and then it's like, a 45-minute video and it's just garbage. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's risk-free. If you join Outsource School and you don't like it, we're just going to refund you, no questions asked. But I mean, with it, you're getting Cracking the VA Code, which is our exact process for interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing everything from the exact interview questions we ask to our meeting templates to how to create really great SOPs. So all of that is the fundamentals. And then we have playbooks for operations like hiring VA bookkeepers, customer service, how to have a VA run your inbox, to calendar management, hire graphic designers, video editors. On marketing, we have lead generation, partnerships, influencers, podcasts, and I could go on. And we come out with new ones every single month that our members get access to. And then we didn't even talk about Simply SOP, which is included in the membership, which is our software to create and store and share SOPs with your team, with your clients. And this is a new thing we created this year. And just like the FreeUp marketplace, the same developer is building this software and get them in. I will put out there, keep listening to feedback and making it better and better as well. And our long-term view and what we're starting to do now is get partners like PickFlu, and our members and our affiliates to not donate, but give access to SOPs so that our members eventually will just get access to thousands of SOPs that they can plug into their business.
So I'm just going to have a couple more questions here, but just a little bit of free information, right? What do you see as the biggest mistakes, the most common mistakes that people are running into when they're actually trying to hire, when they're trying to outsource some work?
So most entrepreneurs skip the onboarding, and this is one of the parts that is going to save you so much time. I mean, we've run into every issue that you can imagine with virtual assistants, and it almost always came down to we didn't onboard them properly. And I'll kind of give you an example. Instead of what most entrepreneurs do, they interview Jane, they want to hire Jane at $5 an hour. They say, hey, Jane, that was a great interview. You're hired. You start on Monday. What we teach our members to do is say, hey, Jane, that was a great interview. We want to hire you, but first we want to take you through our onboarding process. First, we're going to talk to you about rate. We want to make sure you're 100% happy with that rate so it doesn't cause issues in the future. Second, we're going to go through raises and bonuses so you know what to expect so it doesn't blow up on us in 2 years, and make sure you're good with that. Then we're going to go through what we call our SICK method, which is schedule, issues, communication, and culture, where we go over the schedule they have with other clients, stuff like that. We go over the common issues that VAs have and make sure they have backup plans for each one. And then we go through how we communicate so they know what tools we have and what our culture is like and make sure that they're a culture fit. And then at the end of that, and this is a 20 to 30 minute conversation, it's not a 4-hour conversation, we give them a chance to back out, because we'd much rather they back out if our expectations are too high, if it's not a good fit, whatever it is. And if you take anything away from this video, don't forget to set expectations and onboard with your virtual assistant. And we give you a cheat sheet to do this really efficiently.
I really love that, because what essentially you're saying is that what you really want to do is, even if you've spent the time and you end up not working with the employee in the future, it's better to get that out of the way in the beginning, set clear expectations, and make sure everyone's on the same page in terms of absolutely everything, all of the factors related to that employee. And actually, what I think is really interesting is even giving that up into that last minute, giving the employee to say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, and giving them an easy opt-out. It seems kind of counterintuitive because you've invested all that time, but it's going to really bite you later down the road if it's something that you don't take care of. The last question that I like to ask, because how old are you, Nathan?
31.
31. So like at this point, you've sold a business, you've built Outsource School. It's clearly you're talking about buying your second house now in Colorado. The biggest question I always like to ask is, have you made it? Like that.
I don't know. I feel like as an entrepreneur, like I really get it. And for me, it's less about money. It's more about freedom. Like I just love that I can be anywhere at any given time. No one can tell me what time to wake up or what to do. And that's, to me, that's what it's all about. I mean, there's no point in making $200,000 a year if you're working someone else's schedule and you're miserable every day. So I'm fortunate enough that I'm healthy. I have that flexibility. I have an amazing fiance. My family is healthy as well. So I'm just super fortunate regardless of whether I made it or not.
I want to set some clear expectations as well, just giving some realistic expectations for how long these things take. And so can you help with a time frame of when you started FreeUp to the point of sale? How long of a time frame was that?
4 years.
Okay, so that was 4 years. And then how long have you been working on Outsource School right now?
We launched at the end of March. So when we're filming this, it's September.
So do you feel like that a lot of the lessons that you had in FreeUp were pretty applicable and you were able to hit the ground running? Like, is it easier the second time, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't know if easier is the right word. You're able to implement things faster. For example, with FreeUp, we didn't know how to build a partnership program. We didn't know to get on podcasts. We didn't know a lot of the stuff we know now. When we started Outsource School, we hired VAs. We used our own playbooks, the same playbooks we give to our Outsource School members, and we started just implementing these processes. So we were able to build up the very similar marketing team in 3 months that took us a year and a half in FreeUp. But now that we have that built up and we have those fundamentals in place, there's still a lot of other unknown. It's a completely different business model. We talked about paid ads, and there's still a proof of concept, right? Like just because you sold a company doesn't mean every single idea that you come up with going forward is going to be a good one. That's just not how life works. So parts of it, you kind of like speed up the process. Just like I know how to hire any business I start going forward, I can hire A players right away and hit the ground running. There's still other parts of the business you have to figure out.
Gotcha. All right. So the last thing we'll say before kind of wrapping up here is just any tips or motivation for anyone out there who wants to go and achieve something similar. Anything related to mindset or motivation?
Yeah, I think not enough people are talking about this. I mean, we live in the greatest time ever for trial and error. Like when else could you start a business with $5,000? I've done that 3 times now and even some of the businesses, they didn't end up where they started, right? Like Amazon, I started off in textbooks and I ended up on baby products. FreeUp, when we started, we actually had like a little mini course on Amazon that we used to get people to buy the VAs. Then we scratched that and we went full blown to the marketplace. So you're just living a great time, whether it's trying marketing tactics, trying out hiring VAs for different things, trying out different business models. Like you should be out there trying lots of different things, no matter what you learn from gurus and books and podcasts. And those are great. They're great to avoid mistakes and learn different tactics. Don't forget that you have to do trial and error to figure out what's going to work for you and what's good for your business.
Awesome. That's a great piece of advice there. Just go out and get your hands dirty. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to end up failing. You're going to learn from it. You're going to pivot and just keep going. Nathan, what's a good way for people to get in contact with you if they have questions or they want to reach out?
Yeah, go to outsourceschool.com. You can actually schedule a call with us right on the site. You can grab a free trial of Outsource School on the site, 14-day free trial if you want to get a sneak peek. And yeah, we'd love for you to join Outsource School. I mentioned it's risk-free. We have an awesome community. We'd love to have you in it. And yeah, feel free to follow me, Nathan Hirsch, on any social media channel as well.
All right. Well, Nathan, thank you so much, guys. I can personally vouch for Outsource School. You know, again, I'm not getting paid to say this. I bought it myself. I've been using it to a good amount of success, even starting with the podcast outreach formula, and then just for other business ventures that I'm working on as well. It's really good information, really good content, and I'd highly recommend checking it out. It's really good stuff. And guys, if you like this interview, please, and if you have any questions, let us know down in the comments below. And if you have any feedback, we'd really love to hear it. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. I want to encourage you to go and check out our digital marketing playlist. There's a bunch of videos that have a ton of information and good insights on the world of digital marketing. Go and check it out.